Hey, hope you're having a fantastic day. It is officially going to be July in a few days, so let's talk July TBR. I'm not gonna lie, this month it's been a little rough for me trying to figure out what I want to read for July because I feel like it's just an odd month because it's still obviously very much summer, but we're like almost to August, which I very much consider fall, even though like down here in the south it's still like 100 degrees. But I'm just kind of having this weird in between. Like August is like a really good transition to like start and get into like the more heavier fantasies and things like that, or like more heartwarming stories. But like July is just weird. So I'm trying to think of like a vibe of like what I was going into, and the only thing I could think of that I could connect to July is because it's USA's 250 years, and I'm like there's no books that I want to read that are related to the 250th anniversary of America, right? So I'm just like, I don't know. So this is a weird pick. I have a lot of interesting picks, I think, that I'm really excited for, but I'm just like it's just weird. It's a weird month, so let's just get into it. The first pick I have is The Geomagician. Now, this one has kind of been on my radar for just a little bit. It's a newer release. I have a lot of new releases on this TBR, surprisingly. But I found out about this book, like, it just came up in my email from Goodreads. It was, like, something that was suggested, I think, Allie Hazelwood or somebody. Oh, hello, Leo is joining us. Allie Hazelwood or somebody had recommended it, and I don't know, I just got an email, and it just looked really cute and interesting. All I know about the premise is it's kind of like set in the Victorian age. It's supposed to be silly, kind of goofy. This woman ends up getting a pterodactyl and has this pterodactyl egg, and she's trying to protect it. She wants to become part of the society and tries to protect the pterodactyl and become like a geomagician, which is kind of like a paleontologist who uses powers from the dragon or from the fossils' bones and things like that. But because she's a woman in this time frame, she's not allowed. So things kind of happen from there. I think there's a little bit of romance in this from like either her ex-husband or ex-fiance or something like that. That's really all I know. I think it's going to be really good for fans of India Holton. If you know any of her books, those are some of my favorite books. The Geographer's Map to Romance, there's the Antiquarian's Object of Desire, and there's a third one, that first one I can't think of. I think it's something about an ornithologist. But those ones are really fun, really goofy, kind of set in the Victorian time area. And so this is of similar vibes. And I think it's just going to be a fun, more of a lighthearted read. It's really good for some of the other fantasies that I've kind of picked out. And again, it's a newer release. I think I'm just going to give it a try and just kind of go from there. Now, the next word I've heard a lot about, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know if it's necessarily my jam, but I want to try it out because I've heard such good things about it, and that is The Poet Empress. Now, I'm trying to go into books a little bit more blind because I feel like I like books better that way instead of knowing a lot of information about this. But I've heard nothing but good things about this, and I know it's a harder read, like not that it's like written poorly or anything, like harder as in like vibe and energy and like what our main character has to go through. It's like a hard, like emotional read, if that makes more sense. And so pretty much it follows our main character. She comes from a very small town. I think they're very, very poor, and she ends up wanting or has the chance to become a concubine for like the really evil, nasty king. And so that's what she does to kind of try and save her family and help her small community. And there's some type of magic involved. She tries to get magic as some sort and kind of help maybe take down the evil emperor or the king or whatever he's called. And that's all I know. It is like ancient Chinese vibes going on. I think there's feet binding in this and a lot of other like heavier topics, I think, of like that historical fantasy vibe that kind of happens with this one. But again, I've heard nothing but good things. I've heard it's quite a bit of a masterpiece, so I have really high expectations going into it, but I'm not so sure exactly of like the timeline of like what all goes down. But it's something I'm interested in. A little bit more of a heavier read, but again, sometimes it's fun to get into those super heavier reads and maybe a little bit more emotional, something that maybe I could get maybe a little more attached to these characters, so we shall see. The next is the reimagining of Thornwood House. Now this one I've never heard of, and I literally just picked this up just a few days ago in the store. I went to Books A Million for the first time, but yeah, I literally saw it on the shelf. I thought, like, first of all, this cover is absolutely stunning. That looks like my kind of jam, and it looks cute. It's like a cozy fantasy adventure. Our main character has some type of like weather problems or weather abilities, right? And she takes care of a lot of weather problems and like land and things like that. And she and her ward, who I think it's a daughter that she's adopted, she is just trying to kind of set down roots. And so she takes on this house, but she ends up finding out this house is not like the address, and it has legs and it moves itself. And it just kind of goes from there. Again, it's like a cozy fantasy, maybe slight adventure. She's kind of talking and trying to take care of this like sentient house being, and things kind of ensue from there. I think it's just trying to get her and her daughter someplace safe, growing down roots. That way she's not moving from town to town so much. And then also just getting the trust of this sentient house's livelihood and well-being of these people, and getting to know like a small town and community and things like that. Again, cozy fantasy at its finest. I've heard really good things. I think there's quite a few blurbs on the back of this book, especially one from Sarah Beth Durst, who is one of my favorite authors, of course. She wrote The Spell Shop and things like that. There's a couple other good authors, and Emily Kremholtz, who wrote Violet Fistway is Not a Villain Anymore, which I really, really enjoyed early in this year. So I have really, really high hopes for this. Again, cozy fantasy at its finest, and I think that's really, really good for the July, especially after some of the heavier themes and topics I think we'll get into from the Poet Empress. Road Trip with a Vampire. Now this one is one of my most anticipated reads of this year. I finally got it when I went to Books A Million the other day. This is a fun signed copy. I didn't realize that when I was buying it, but I was like, okay, sure, I'm down with it. So I got it where it was already signed, like in the store, right? But I thought it was really fun. This is the third in the set of an interconnected standalone series. I looked all the other books before this. It's My Roommate is a Vampire, and I can't forget the second book, but again, you don't have to read them in order, but there is, I think, slight character crossover, but not story character crossover, if that makes sense. But this one follows our main character, who is a witch, and then our other main character is a vampire, but he's lost like all his memories. He's got really bad amnesia, and he's like left with a bunch of notes, and one of the other characters from their books, Reggie, sends him to our main character, who's the witch, and she doesn't want anything to do with vampires, right? Like, she's kind of swarming them off for centuries because she like is like super into them and things like that. And so things kind of go from there. She's trying to help him find out who he is and like get his memories back, but I think there's also like some things unraveling from her past that are also kind of connecting them together, and they go on this road trip together. It's fun, it's goofy, it's an enjoyable time. It's not super high spice, it's just a really fun read. It's just not like so high paced like you're like out of breath, right? This isn't one of a more like, it's really fun, it's a good pace, and it's enjoyable, and like the twists and turns are always good, and the romance is honestly usually always phenomenal in her book. So I'm really, really, really interested to get into this. Again, was my top favorite books that I'm super excited, or like most anticipated books for the year, so I'm like so excited I finally got my hands on this one. Now this next book has been on my radar for maybe a little bit. One of my favorite content creators that I love to watch about books, she keeps recommending this book and saying it's like a hidden gem. This is like an indie one. She's like, I guarantee it's going to get trad published soon. And again, the ratings on Goodreads are also really good, but any book that she recommends, I almost always pick up, and I almost always enjoy, because her and I are like very much on the same wavelength, right? And so she has convinced me to pick up this book, Between Tides and Thunder. Now, I don't know a whole lot about this book. Again, especially for this one, I'm trying to really stay away from any extra details. I want to go into it very, very blind. But this one is a standalone romance, and there's a bit of fantasy in it. I think our main character has maybe some healing abilities. Of that knowledge, I don't know if her the magic system is really, really good, but our main character, she ends up getting married off to kind of stave a rebellion of like the villain of the world, and it kind of just documents her romance from there. And again, it's not necessarily a dark romance, but like I think it's a darker fantasy, but I've heard it's very much a whirlwind, and like it's like the way the other creator like described it, it's like, I guess it's like an entire trilogy but set into one book, and then it's phenomenal. So I'm really, again, very, very high expectations going into this book. I don't know much about it, but our main character is like reluctant to go into this marriage of convenience, and I think things just go from there. Maybe a bit of an enemies to lovers kind of situation going on, and that, again, I heard the magic system is really, really cool, so I'm interested to get into that and hear about that. But that's literally all I know about this book. But because it was so highly recommended and she keeps talking about it, I'm like, yes, that is exactly, if you're gonna say it's that good and she keeps talking about it, then I need to read it, and I think it'd be a great summer read. So I think this is really good to add on to this one. A little bit of a heavier read, a little bit more of a faster paced read, but definitely something I'm really interested to read this month. Now the last book is Fever Dream by Elsie Silver. Now this is a super popular book right now. I think it just came out not that long ago. I've read a few of Elsie Silver's books, and I've enjoyed them. Like, I have like no qualms against her, but I'm not like a huge, like, I enjoy contemporary romance, but I prefer more of a fantasy twist more recently. I have a harder time with more of the westerns because I grew up on a farm, and like I'm kind of a country girl, so for me it's harder to read those type of books because I judge them very much. Like, if there's certain little details that they get wrong in the book, I'm like, nope, I'm done. Like, I can't get into it, right? Especially dealing with horses. And so this one, I think it's an easier twist for me to get into, but it kind of follows our main character. He is like down and out because his ranch is like going under, right? And he wants to save his ranch. So he ends up going on this like reality TV show like The Bachelor, but it's like hosts on his like ranch, right? So he's trying to find like a ranch wife. And so things kind of ensue from there, but like the main producer or whoever is his like sworn enemy's sister. And of course, he's like down bad and totally in love with her. But again, he's on the show to save his farm. And of course, now he's got eyes for somebody who isn't like one of the producers, right? Like not even one of the contestants. So I think it kind of ensues from there. It's a fun premise. It's something different. I think it's gonna be interesting. Again, it's a like normal Western romance, like not super high expectations, but so far I've heard really good things, and I know it's really popular right now. But I thought it'd be like a really good palate cleanser, and between some of the heavier books like Poet Empress and Between Tides and Thunder, and just kind of keep you in the room in like the mood for like summer and still keep it more summery romance. So something a little different. I haven't read a Western yet this year, so I figured I'll try this one out. But I liked like the bachelor theme to this one, so I think it'll be interesting enough. But that's it. Those are all the books. Those are the 6 books that I have for my July TBR. Again, a little bit of off the wall, a little all over the place because I feel a little all over the place. July is an odd month, I feel like, just to kind of figure out like what do I want to read, but that's what I got. That's what I'm going for. Let me know what you're reading down in the comments. I would love to know. Have you read any of these books yet so far this year? Please, please, please let me know. Are there any changes you think I should maybe prioritize, and maybe some other books that you might suggest that I should read in July? Because again, I just feel like it's a weird month. I don't know what to read in July. Like I'm ready for like August, even though it's literally going to be like the next 2 weeks. Like it's not going to get below 90 down here where I live. So it's like, I don't know. Everything is still summer, even though I don't like summer, but thus is life, right? But anyway, I hope you had a wonderful time, and I will see you on the next one. Happy reading!